Hello everybody, how is it going? My name is Lucas and welcome to the Cajun Guitar Gear Podcast. We have a lot of interesting things on the docket today. We have some legendary guitarists releasing their own signature amps, Boss releasing IRs and amps all in one little tiny pedal, and we have some Spotify Wrapped stuff to get into. Guys, if this is your first time here, leave me a sub. I greatly appreciate it. We have this podcast. I do gear reviews. We do lots of other cool stuff. Would greatly appreciate it. Now that we have got the introduction out of the way, let's jump right in. Jimmy Page has released his Super Dragon amp. What this is a recreation of the amp that he used on Led Zeppelin 1 and Led Zeppelin 2. It was his number one amp. They're going to have a limited edition of 50 Super Dragon half stacks being hand built by Mitch Colby along with a highly skilled Sun Dragon team. Is a replica stock 6550 tubes. Okay, this is from Premier Guitar. Let's jump over to the Sun Dragon amp site. So basically what the Super Dragon is it's a recreation of what Jimmy used in Led Zeppelin 1 and 2. And what it is, what he did was he sent his Marshall 1968 Super Bass to Tony Frank, and he modified it, and he gave the amp more power and an extended dynamic range. So basically what the Super Dragon is basically a modded Plexi is what it looks like, more or less, if you want to boil it down in simple terms. I think the logo looks really cool. You actually kind of can't buy it right now because if you go to like shop, right, on Sun Dragon's site, you just have the Sun Dragon amp. That's the little combo you can get. You kind of can't get anything else. I imagine these are probably going to be very pricey whenever they come out, which is cool. You know, I think this is going to be aimed at people who love Led Zeppelin, who love Marshalls, people who are collectors. I think this is a really cool thing that they're launching. And now let's move on to another legendary guitarist from that same era. Already had his amps, but he's kind of relaunching them. That is going to be Mr. LIfeson from Rush. Okay, let me see. I figured out how to pronounce this. Let's see if I can do it right. The Lurxist. Which is basically a nickname that Geddy called Alex because it's kind of how Geddy's mom pronounced Alex's name. So these are his new line of amps. He's had these before, but these are kind of relaunched. He's doing it with Mojo Tone. And okay, so one of them is called the Omega. This is not any relation to Omega amps that make the graphene and have all the other stuff. This is completely different. So when I say Omega, it's just the model of the amp. Basically what this amp is it's a lot like the Jimmy Page amp we just looked at. It's kind of a Marshall, kind of a Plexi, but this one kind of has a lot more options on it. Let's just go to shop, because let's go to learn more so we can kind of see. So the Omega cabinet, it's modeled after a 1972 Marshall 2069. Nice. 412 cab, he used it with Clockwork Angels. The cabinet has 4 Mojo Tone BV25M speakers, British clones. These speakers use British-made cones to replicate the pre-roller tones that help shape Alex's early sound. So it sounds like they're using the paper cones from way back in the day, which is cool. So yeah, you have his cabinet. Okay, so let's look at the Omega head. They are going to be made in the USA. They're made in North Carolina, I believe. Come on and raise up. This one's for who? This one's for who? Us. Made in North Carolina. So as you can see in front of an amp, you have presence, bass, middle, treble. You have an output master, and it looks like you can actually pull that. You have a lead master. You have an input gain switch, and on the back of the amp, you have a switch. You can go from 25. You can go 25 watts to 50 watts. Oh, here we go. Here, and you can have 50 watts to 25 watts. You have your effects in and loop. You have a serial loop. You have your loudspeaker plugs, and you have the output selection. You can choose the output selection, and you can choose the mains selection there. It does not have any MIDI, which is kind of a disappointment, but I get it. I'm not gonna harp on it. This is aimed at people who want basically a classic Marshall with a little bit more functionality in it, which I think this amp's a little bit better than the Jimmy Page amp we just looked at. Let's see, it's share 3-band EQ, serial loop, impedance is 486 ohms, has a foot switch, power tubes are EL34s, and the preamps are 312 AX7 preamps, so pretty standard stuff. You have the controls, as I went over before, presence, middle, bass, output, master, channel select, lead, master, and input. Some more boring stuff. And an amp is 44 pounds. a little on the heavy side. So the front panel is kind of cool. If you turn the amp on, you have the little Rush logo that lights up in red, which I think is really cool. So these amps are fairly simple, I guess you could say. They're not not super complicated, I guess you could say. So if we're actually looking at them, so the special edition head, it has like the Tolex. I couldn't really find anything different about the special edition. I know it has like a special edition Tolex on it. I don't really see anything different on it. You have the same controls. The Tolex is a little different. So the special edition is about like 3,500. The regular Omega head is about 2,500. If you want a combo, that's 2,000. And you have, so you have his older heads in here too. So the Omega is his new head, and you have his CHI head, which is like at 1,700 or so. Which, yeah, this head's a little bit different. I think it's just his older head. And you can buy the cabs. So the special edition cab is 15. The Omega cab, extension cab is 16. So that is the collaboration between LIfeson and Mojo. Like I said, if you're looking for that Rush sound and you want some like Marshalls with a little bit more flexibility, this is absolutely perfect. Now, moving on to the pedal space. Boss just launched their IR2 pedal, and we covered some stuff that Boss launched since I started this podcast, and Boss has just been on fire lately. They have just been putting out some really cool stuff. So on this little pedal here, you have some amp sims, and you have like a bunch of IRs, and you can load your own IRs. It's really tight. So you have amp wise, you have Brown modded. It's a dual rec sound in there. Twin, clean, tweed, diamond, crunch, Brit, high gain, Sloan. That's what it says right there. I believe it's really hard to see. It says Sloan. Anyway, we're going to hear an audio example of this in a second. Features, preamp emulation, good audio quality. You can actually hook it to an interface. You have USB-C port if you want to record with it. Your computer mobile device, switch between cabinet amp tones, load wrap, put your own IRs. Boss 5-year warranty, and amp and cabinet sections can be turned on and off independently for isolated use. Boss. See, Boss is the boss. This is... They're thinking of everything. It's really cool. So the layout of this pedal, it's a lot like, kind of like the Metal Zone, believe it or not. How you have like switches and switches, if that makes any sense. Like you have the big knob that comes out, and you have like the knob that's close to the pedal. I'm trying to do the best explaining that for those who are just listening. This is pretty much it. This is the rest boring stuff. Let's jump over to Mr. Leon Todd's channel. Make sure you go subscribe to Leon, because he does a lot of cool crap. So we're gonna listen to the different settings in here, and I'm just gonna let it play. So for those who are just listening only, I'll kind of announce what we're doing. So this is gonna be the clean sound. All right, this is gonna be the twin sound. Alright, this is going to be the tweed sound. Gonna go over to diamond. Let's go over to crunch. By the way, all the sounds you're hearing, it's all from the pedal. Let's go over to Brit. Alright, let's go over to high gain, which high gain is it's lackluster in my opinion. Alright, that was a high gain. I probably should have said it was lackluster. I'm kind of setting you up for failure there. This is the SLDN. which this kind of sounds like Insane or Big Bottom from the Line 6, so I approve. It's going to be the brown. And let's go to modded. Alright, this is going to be your rectifier, you dual rec. And then Leon goes on to talk about how you can have different channels, you can turn things on and off. You do have it in the effects loop, and let's listen to what it sounds like boosted. Boosted, this thing sounds excellent. Like, this is all coming from a small little bitty pedal. So you can literally, like, if you have a backline to a gig, you can literally show up, you plug into the clean amp. I mean, you're good to go. I mean, you kind of have to, like, route it, because, I mean, you'd have to turn off the IRs. But if you're just going, like, straight to front of house, if you show up somewhere and you go, hey, look, run me straight to front of house, that's excellent. I mean, you just bring a pedal board to a gig, and you would literally have everything you can ever need. I kind of like this better than, say, bringing a computer to a gig, because there's so many variables that can go wrong with a computer. I do like the fact that you have your IRs, you have your amp stems right there in the amp. I think this pedal is pretty cool. It's very fantastic. How much does this pedal cost? Let's see how much this thing costs. Find a dealer. Let's go to everyone's favorite site. Let's go to Sweetwater. By the way, if you want to buy a Boss IR2, use my Sweetwater link in the description, and you can just click on any of the links, honestly. Oh, it is $200. That is a respectable price. That's not bad, because I know, considering what this thing does, we've covered some other pedals on this podcast were just a normal preamp pedal, and they were around the same price. So you're getting a lot of stuff baked in just for $200. Let's check it out. Yeah, you can pre-order it. So contact your Sweetwater rep or anywhere where you would buy it. If you want to buy it from me, click the description. Look in the description. You can use the affiliate link. I get a tiny kickback. I just take that. I put it right back into the channel so I can bring you guys more stuff. Sweet. Just a tiny little plug there. Now let's transition to talking about Spotify Wrapped. So Spotify Wrapped, every year it shows you your top artists, your top songs, how much you listened, what genre you listen to. I know the other streaming services have it too. I know YouTube Music has it. I know Apple Music has it. I think, what's that other one? The one with Jay-Z, Tidal. I think Tidal has it too. I never see any ones from Tidal. Anyway, it's a Spotify Wrapped. So I'm going to talk about my Spotify Wrapped, and then I'm going to show you another site that kind of gives you a better picture. So Spotify Wrapped pulls from, like, I think, like, December, like the end of December till, like, October. So it does that section of the year, and then it spits out what you've used. So my top artists are Vela Maya, The Amenity Affliction, Currents, Periphery, and Invent Animate. Coincidentally enough, all of these artists released new albums, and I, as a music consumer, I bounce around a lot. So I will listen to certain stuff if I get, like, the hankering for it, but I use the Spotify mixes a lot, which I really love. What that does is it's like, it'll kind of congregate all the stuff you listen to, and it puts it, like, in a mix. So I have this app called Crap Hands, and I love Crap Hands, by the way. Go download it. Not sponsored by anything. I just really love that app. It takes all of the people you follow on Spotify, and it aggregates whenever there's new stuff that comes out. So it puts it in one big old playlist. And what I really love about it is it filters out, like, the stuff you don't want to see, and it gives you only the stuff you care about. Because I know you can do, like, your new releases on Spotify, but this kind of sucks. So Crab Hands tells you when there's new stuff that comes out and automatically puts it in the playlist. It works like 99% of the time. Sometimes it'll not put stuff in there, but most of the time it works absolutely flawlessly. And it also helps me keep track of like all the new stuff that came out. So like when later on, probably in a couple weeks, we're gonna discuss like my albums of the year. I have like a bunch. This year's been awesome, but it kind of helps me track that, and it's just very neat. It's very organized, and it's very powerful. But so go check out Crab Hands if you kind of want to take back control over your stuff. Because one thing, I used to be on Google Play Music, RIP, which Google Play Music, man, Google Play Music was so good, and it kind of did what Crab Hands does for me. So like whenever new things would come out, new albums would come out, it would automatically put it in this one little tab for me, and I didn't have to do anything, and it'd be like suggested listening, I think it was called. Google Play Music was so good, man. I'm still mad it went away, because YouTube Music can't even hold a candle to it. YouTube Music's been out, I think, like 3 or 4 years, which I technically have YouTube Music, but I don't use it because I have YouTube Premium, so it comes with it, and I don't really use it because my wife added me to Spotify for like on her Spotify account for like $2 a month, so I've just been using it. Okay, sorry, I went down a rabbit hole there. So the reason why Veil of Maya is my number one is because I listened to their singles like a lot before the album came out. Their album, by the way, is very, very good. It is my favorite album since Matriarch from them. It's very good. Very, 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 very good. And I jam the singles a lot, and I think that's why it's my top artist, because I like didn't go, and what I mean by that is I didn't go to the Veil of Maya artist tab and like listen to a lot of their stuff. And it's sometimes like there, like Common Man's Collapse and it'll come in on my mixes, and I'll listen to it. So I guess that's where I got that. The Amenity Affliction, I got into them heavily this year. I really wasn't into them a whole lot before this year. Their new album came out. Their new album is fantastic, and I went back and I jammed a lot of their old stuff. Their stuff's really, really good. They're out of Australia. Currents dropped a new album, and like I said, I jammed the singles a lot, which I typically don't jam singles all that much, but with Crab Hands, it makes it easy. So that they came out with a new album. Their album's really good. Periphery, of course. Periphery is one of my all-time favorite bands. You kind of can't see it, but on the vinyl wall over here, I have like all their albums on vinyl. I even have 2 of P5, which is the one that came out this year. 2 variants of P5. Periphery, I listen to Periphery kind of like a lot. That's one of the few that I'll kind of like revisit, and I'll even like I have some playlist with like P1 redone where I put the Icarus EP on there, and I'll go back and listen to it. They're one of my all-time favorite bands. And Invent Animate, I really like these guys too. Their new album Heavener, absolutely fantastic. It's really good. Don't pay attention to these top songs. Like it's just because of the singles that I jammed a lot, and then when I jammed them along with the like albums too, it kind of came in and it came up in there. I do listen to like a crap ton of metalcore, but I Spotify Wrapped is cool, but it needs to be changed, because it doesn't give you a truly accurate representation of what you're listening to. Because I'm going to show you right here. Okay, so this is called Stats for Spotify, and it's pretty cool because you can do all time, you can do top artists, you can do top tracks. It gives you a little bit more better view of what you're looking at. So let's do last 4 weeks. So last 4 weeks, Dying Wish, I've been jamming them. They came out with a new album. Torrential Rain came out with a new album. New Dying Wish is great. If you like 2000 metalcore, that is really great. Torrential Rain. This album is such a banger, man. I've discovered them from my Spotify mixes, like I was talking about earlier. They came up in there. Pretty much all of their songs are so good. They're basically like, it's like gent and metalcore, but it's like clean singing on top of it, which is fantastic. A Day to Remember. I've been jamming them more a lot lately because they re-released their second album that got remixed by Adam D from Killswitch Engage. He remixed it and remastered it. It sounds fantastic, and I never really listened to that album before. I kind of jumped on A Day to Remember with What Separates Me From You back in like 2010 when I was like working at Best Buy and like graduating college and stuff. Anyway, been jamming their new album, jamming their remixed album a lot. Night Rider is great. They're a lot like Torrential Rain. They're kind of in that same genre. It's kind of like synthwave gent, if you want to call it that. Their new album is an absolute banger. Mouth Breather, I just kind of discovered them and jumped. This is like very recently. I've been jamming their stuff. Anima Tempo, these guys are great. So they remind me of Chakran and like some of the good parts of Rings of Saturn. I don't like Rings of Saturn at all. So it's sort of like that. They're really cool. Texas in July, they just came out with an EP. Been jamming the crap out of that. That is really good. That's JT from Era. This is his old band. Auraborn, that shit is so great. It's kind of like metalcore gent stuff. The Parallel, they're really good too. As Beginnings, been jamming. I can't remember. They're kind of like, so Auraborn, The Parallel, and As Beginnings. They're kind of all in like a metalcore gent kind of era, of course. Periphery. So this is my last 4 weeks. This is what some of the last stuff that came out. So last 6 months is gonna give you a bigger veil. So kind of all of these guys have come out with new albums. Because I like to explore and I like to jam a lot of like new stuff, basically. Going into my last 6 months, to me, this gives you a more accurate representation of what you're listening to, because you're gonna see some similarities to Wrapped, and you're gonna see like a lot of variance here. So, Amenity Affliction is in there, Veil of Maya is in there. Humanity's Last Breath just dropped their new album, and I like it a lot. It's freaking good. They're kind of like extreme. They're Thal, basically. It's kind of like extreme. It's like Meshuggah, but you make it lower tuned and more extreme, basically, kind of, in a weird way. So, like, Humanity's Last Breath and what's Buster's other band? I'm drawing a blank because I have to think about it. I know you're screaming at the screen right now. Schecter, that's his other band that he's in. So, Humanity's Last Breath and Schecter, they're kind of, it's all the same thing. It's like same people. It's all the same people. It's like the same style of music. Their new album is great. Polaris, I've been jammed them when their new album came out. Their guitarist Ryan just died. That whole situation was very sad. He died like right before the album came out. I liked their new album, but it was kind of lacking a little bit for me. Like, it was good, but it wasn't like that, like, great. Dying Wish, I already talked about them. Fantastic. The Callous Style Boys, they're kind of like Oceans meets Alaska. So it's like it's mathcore essentially is what it is. They're great. They're basically insane. They came out with a new EP. I just got into them and jamming them. Johnny Booth, I love Johnny Booth. They showed up in my mixes again. I've discovered a lot of bands from my mixes. They showed up in my mixes again. I jammed them, and they came out with a new album, Moments Elsewhere, I believe it's called. This year was really good. Beartooth is they're like pop rock, not pop rock, but like I don't even know how to describe them, because they're kind of one of the only bands I listen to in this genre. I liked their new album a lot. Unearth came out with a new album. This is their first album they came out without Ken Susi in it, which I mean, Ken's been in the band forever, so this one was all right. This was a good album considering they didn't have Ken on it. Currents showed up, was in my Wrapped. Breakdown of Sanity, I've been jamming them a lot. They haven't come out with an album in a while, but they're really good. They're kind of like they came in right at the end of the whole gent movement, I guess you could say, which it's kind of like one of my favorite genres is gent, believe it or not. So they came in right at the end. Zenith Passage came out with a new album. This is Tech Death. This is really good. Killswitch Engage, I listened to them a lot. Tesseract, they had a new album. It's one of their best. It's their best album since Altered State. Really freaking good. Orbit Culture came out with a new album. They actually came out with a new EP yesterday. So December 1st, Feminist on December 2nd. December 1st, they came out with a new one. Torrential Rain is in there. I was jamming Old Parkway. New Parkway is absolutely trash. Hollow Front, they're kind of like Auraborn and stuff like that. It Dies Today rules. They just came out with a new single after a while of not coming out with anything. They're very old school, like 2000s metalcore. They're really good. Darkest Hour, I saw them in concert not too long ago. It was great. I can't believe I didn't talk about that on here. They played with Exodus and Fit for an Autopsy. They were really good. They were great. They're coming out with a new album. I'm very excited about that. The 2000s metalcore is coming back strong. I love it. Night Riders on there. August Burn Red. Their new album was fantastic. It's really good. A lot of bangers on there. Guilt Trip. Their new album is actually really good. As you can see, so the stuff that's popping up on here is like it's a lot of like new albums, and like I jam it and I'll go through it on my Ghost Hands list. Event Animates when your soul begins. They come up in my mixes and I jam them a lot. So, Vicocious, this is a guy I discovered on YouTube. I can't remember his name now. He came out with like his first, I don't know, I think this is the band's first album. It's kind of like traditional metalcore. I jammed that for a little while and I liked it.
Fiends came out with a new album. They're from Florida. They're really great. They're kind of in that same realm as Johnny Booth, if you want to kind of put them in there. Half Me, they're kind of awesome. They're kind of like Throne a little bit. They're great. They're like metalcore. Cliffside, they came out with a new album. Holding Absence had a new album. They're really good. So as you can see, like this is my last 6 months is a lot more representative of kind of what I've been jamming. If you want to come look all time, it's Periphery, Kill Switch, Phineas. I jammed the crap out of Phineas like 2 years ago. Whenever the hurricane like blew off my roof, I was jamming them a lot in Florida. Era, Really Acta on Earth, Meshuggah, Chunk, Amenity. So as you can see, this is pretty much where I live. Multiflame, Beartooth, Oceans, Ghost Iris. This is where I live. Gojira. I used to jam Gojira a lot on my iPod and my old Silverado before I got my RAM. My new RAM radio didn't really pick it up. Well, I did listen to it in there, but when I put it on an actual deck, I couldn't. I would listen to From Mars to Sirius. The Way of All Flesh is one of my favorite albums of all time, and Les Enfants Sauvages, like in a loop all the time. That's those 3 records by Gojira like cannot be touched. They're so freaking good. Anyway, I've been talking for a really long time. That's gonna wrap up the podcast today. Share your Spotify raps in the comments. Just put like what showed up on there. If you have just your Spotify raps, your top artist of the year, depending on which streaming service you listen to, because there's not really any good or bad streaming services. They're all kind of like whatever's cheaper or whatever fits you better. What are we rolling into next week? We're getting kind of close to Christmas. So the week of Christmas, I may put out a podcast. I may have some friends, family friend, my wife. Long story short, I may be going on a trip, or someone may be coming here. So I don't know. Toward the end of the year, the podcast may or may not happen, depending on, because I know news is really slow, and we may pick it up back in the new year. Just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of warning. I know this is the very end, but look, if you stuck around this long, thank you so much. Currently, these podcasts are on. They're not even breaking like 50 views or 100 views. The first one did really well. They're only getting like 30 views. So all of you 30 people who are watching, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. A couple of you have reached out to me and said that you loved it and to keep doing it and that you really like listening to it. So I'm making the podcast for you guys, by the way, because otherwise I probably wouldn't, because I don't really have anywhere to share it is my problem. It's like on some of my other videos, I kind of can share it on Facebook, which I know Facebook is dead, but for millennials, it's still alive. So I can share it to Facebook, I can share it to Reddit and stuff like that. And, people go to it, but I kind of don't really have any place to share the podcast, and it's so oversaturated and stuff. It's just not me asking you to share. I'm just kind of explaining things. So if you're still here, thank you for watching. Thank you for keep giving me the motivation to keep going, because you're pretty much the only reason that I keep making this. And guys, I will catch you on the next podcast in the next video. Peace.